Chaos at the Salem meeting shakes the Kyriakis family to its core. It begins like any other morning in Salem, but by day's end, the Kyriakis family will be rocked to its foundation by an act of sudden, savage violence. In what's shaping up to be one of the most emotionally charged and dramatic arcs of the spring, the lives of Phillip, Xander, Kate, and Maggie spiral into chaos after a shocking attack that leaves one man clinging to life and another facing the full force of suspicion from every corner of town. A mother's worst nightmare. Kate finds her son broken and bleeding. The drama ignites when Kate, already worried after not hearing from her son, sets out to find Phillip. Her instincts scream that something is wrong, and she's right. As the door swings open to his hotel room at the Salem Inn, Kate is confronted with a scene no mother should ever witness. The air is heavy with the lingering violence of what has just occurred. Lamps are overturned, a chair splintered, and in the middle of it all lies Phillip, bloody, battered, and motionless on the carpet. His face is bruised, one arm twisted beneath him at an unnatural angle. There's blood on his temple, and he isn't responding. For a moment, Kate freezes in horror, but then instinct takes over. She drops to her knees beside him, trembling fingers checking for a pulse, and with shaking hands she calls 911, her voice shrill with panic. She pleads for paramedics, telling them her son is unconscious and badly hurt. "Please, just hurry," she whispers, her voice cracking. The culprit? All signs point to Xander. Unbeknownst to Kate, the damage was done just minutes before her arrival. Tensions had been simmering for days between Phillip and Xander. Tensions rooted in betrayal, corporate sabotage, and long-held grudges. Xander, already suspicious of Phillip's involvement in a scheme to double-cross him at Titan, confronted him in the hotel room. Fueled by rage and a sense of betrayal, Xander threw the first punch. That punch was only the beginning. What followed was a violent, one-sided beating that escalated far beyond a heated argument. By the time Xander left the room, Phillip was barely conscious. Now, as news of the attack spreads through Salem, all eyes turn to Xander. And it's not just idle gossip. There's physical evidence too, bruised and bloodied knuckles that Xander can't quite explain. The man who once had a violent past, one he's tried hard to put behind him, suddenly finds himself once again the town's prime suspect. Maggie demands the truth. Word travels fast in Salem. By the time Kate is following the ambulance to the hospital, Maggie is confronting Xander at the Kyriakis' mansion. The matriarch is equal parts shaken and furious. She's been one of the few to believe in Xander's ability to change. She vouched for him when no one else would. But now, as she stares at the raw abrasions on his hands, the trust she had in him begins to falter. "What did you do, Xander?" she demands, her voice tight with emotion. Xander, evasive as ever, dodges her questions. He insists things got out of hand, that Phillip provoked him. But the damage is done. Maggie's eyes search his face, looking for the man she's defended for so long, and seeing, perhaps, someone she no longer recognizes. Sarah wants answers, and she won't be soothed. Later that week, Sarah corners Xander herself. The woman who once loved him now stands as his most determined interrogator. Her voice trembles not with fear, but fury. "Tell me the truth, Xander. Not the version you give everyone else. The real truth. Did you leave Phillip to die?" Xander remains defensive. He claims he didn't mean for things to go that far, that he lost control for just a moment. But to Sarah, that moment may have cost a man his life. At the hospital, Phillip's fate hangs in the balance. Phillip's condition is critical. Paramedics stabilized him on the way to the hospital, but he remains unconscious. Doctors aren't yet sure whether there's internal bleeding or if his head injury will result in lasting trauma. For now, all anyone can do is wait, and hope. Kate remains at her son's bedside, her hands clutching his. She refuses to leave. Every beep of the monitor is a reminder of how close she came to losing him. Her heart is full of fear, but also fury. Someone did this to her son. Someone who walked away. Alex seethes and sets his sights on revenge elsewhere in Salem. The news hits Alex like a punch to the gut. Though his relationship with Phillip has been strained, they're still family. And family means something to Alex. He's enraged, especially as more details emerge and it becomes clear that Xander was the last person seen with Phillip. Stephanie tries to calm him, urges him to take a breath, to wait for all the facts, but Alex is past the point of rational thought. "I let that man into my life," he tells her, pacing like a caged animal. "I started to believe he could change. But he nearly killed my cousin. If Phillip doesn't pull through," his voice trails off, dark with threat. Stephanie puts a gentle hand on his arm. "Revenge won't bring Phillip back. It won't change what happened." But Alex's eyes are already cold. The vow he makes next may not be one he can come back from. What happens next? A family torn apart in the coming days, Salem will be buzzing with fallout. The Kyriakis clan, already stretched thin, now faces a painful reckoning. Trust is shattered. Loyalties are questioned. And while Phillip clings to life, those around him begin to fall apart. Kate will not rest until someone answers for what happened to her son. Maggie will grapple with the guilt of ever trusting Xander. Sarah may finally cut ties with the man she once defended. And Alex? He may become a man unrecognizable to those who love him, consumed by a thirst for justice, or vengeance. For now, one question hangs in the air over all of Salem: will Phillip survive? And if he does, will the Kyriakis family ever be the same again? Next, dark secrets, buried truths. The Salem lab break-in, the stolen drugs, and the shadows that won't stay silent. Salem is no stranger to scandal, but even the most seasoned residents of this mysterious town are left shaken by the wave of deception, betrayal, and violence currently unfolding. As the dust begins to settle, a tangled story of a mysterious lab break-in, missing experimental drugs, a near-deadly confrontation between brothers, and a long-lost hero's return begins to emerge. But one thing is certain. Nothing in Salem is ever as it seems. The lab break-in, an inside job revealed it all, begins quietly, in the sterile halls of a laboratory on the outskirts of Salem. For most people, this lab is just another research facility. But for those who know better, it's a place where dangerous secrets are kept under lock and key, especially experimental pharmaceutical compounds that have the power to heal, or destroy. Steve and Sean, determined to get to the bottom of the recent break-in, gather around the main computer station inside the lab. It's eerily quiet as they scan the room. Nothing appears to have been forced open. The keyboard is untouched, which sends a chill down their spines. No fingerprints, no tampering. The only logical explanation is a security badge, a keycard, used to gain access. That means it was an inside job, one of them mutters grimly. The evidence only gets more damning. As they check the keystroke logs, a name pops up: Kevin Lambert. He had been in the lab right around the time of the break-in. Sean frowns deeply. Kevin is no stranger to trouble, but this? Could he be involved in something so dangerous? They head out to find him, only to spot him outside the lab, nervously pacing near the trash bins. He keeps glancing around, checking his watch. He's clearly waiting for someone who might have answers, or be in even deeper trouble. Tensions boil over at the hospital. Meanwhile, the chaos is spilling into the hospital as well. In a hushed corridor, Dr. Russell and Kayla are already discussing the break-in with alarm. The burglary isn't just a random act of theft, it's a direct threat to the safety of Salem citizens. And now, it's personal. Dangerous compounds have been stolen, and someone is planning to use them. Just then, EJ walks in, unaware of the storm awaiting him. The doctors immediately confront him, demanding answers. Their voices rise, accusing him of orchestrating the break-in, of taking what wasn't his to take. EJ, clearly caught off guard, is left speechless as the accusations fly around him. The moment is interrupted when Kayla hears a crash and rushes toward one of the hospital rooms. Inside is Sarah, alone and distressed. Ever since Xander left her, she's been in a state of unease. Something about his departure doesn't sit right with her. And she's right to worry. The room's been disturbed. Items are overturned. And near the cabinet, an empty vial. The stolen drugs have been here. A mercenary's return, Xander's dark turn far from the hospital, a confrontation is brewing that threatens to end in blood. Xander has tracked Phillip down. He storms into the room, his eyes burning with fury. Without ceremony, he tears off his jacket and rolls up his sleeves. This is not the Xander who's tried to walk the straight and narrow. This is the man from his past, the mercenary, the enforcer, the one who answers betrayal with violence. He glares at Phillip and demands to know where the drugs are. Phillip stammers. He's not prepared for this. But Xander is beyond reason now. With a dark edge in his voice, he tells Phillip he knows the truth. The letter that granted him power, the one that gave him control, was a forgery. I should have done this the moment I found out, Xander growls. He tells Phillip he's done pretending. He's done wearing a CEO's mask. That part of him was an illusion, a fantasy he tried to make real for Sarah and Maggie. But the truth is, he's always been something else, a soldier for hire. And now, the job is personal. He doesn't need money this time. He doesn't want power. He just wants freedom, from betrayal, from manipulation, from the lies. And the price of that freedom? Phillip. Without hesitation, Xander pulls back and drives his fist into his brother's face. Phillip crashes to the ground. Blood spills from his lip as he groans in pain, barely able to speak. But Xander doesn't stop. He towers over him, fury in every movement. Sarah's fear grows, and Marlena receives a miracle call back at the hospital. Sarah is shaken. She doesn't know exactly what's happened, but she can feel it in her bones. Xander is spiraling. She remembers the man he used to be, and she fears that man is back. The vials are gone. Xander is gone. And she is left standing in the wreckage. Meanwhile, Marlena sits with Susan in the waiting area, her thoughts consumed by another storm entirely. She still doesn't know who shot her son, and the uncertainty is eating away at her. But then, her phone rings. She answers, and after a moment, her eyes widen, and she begins to cry. Oh, thank you. Thank God. Thank God. Susan leaps to her feet. What is it? What happened? Marlena hangs up. They found John, she whispers. He's alive. He's tired, hungry, and weak, but he's alive. He's on his way back. He's coming home. Susan can't contain her joy. She jumps up and down, laughing and crying all at once. But then, she suddenly stops. A chill runs through her. Her arms wrap around herself. It feels like someone just walked over my grave, she whispers, looking into the distance. The calm before the storm? As Salem reels from this barrage of developments, one can't help but wonder what comes next. John is on his way home, but what has he endured? What secrets does he bring back? Sarah has reason to fear that the man she once loved is reverting to his darkest form. Can she reach him before it's too late? Steve and Sean are closing in on Kevin, but will they uncover the full truth of the break-in, or is there someone even more dangerous pulling the strings? And Phillip, if he survives this brutal assault, may have more to answer for than anyone suspects. Salem is a town built on secrets. But when those secrets rise to the surface, they often bring ruin in their wake. And now, those tides are rising fast.
Days of our lives.